Right, so we're doing a deep dive today into something called Stoic cosmopolitanism.
Stoic cosmopolitanism.
Yeah, have you ever heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I was at StoicCon 2024,
Oh, cool.
and this philosopher, Katja Maria Volk, gave this keynote,
Yeah.
and it just like blew my mind. And I was like, we need to do a deep dive on this.
Awesome.
So she was talking about how like this ancient philosophy can actually like help us navigate the world today,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah, well, and I think what's so fascinating about Stoic cosmopolitanism is that it's not about, like, creating some perfect world government or, some utopia. It's much more personal than that.
Okay.
It's about changing your own perspective, like recognizing that we're all part of something much bigger.
Okay.
The Stoics called it the cosmic city.
Okay, cosmic city.
Yeah.
I love that imagery. But like, help me wrap my head around what that actually means. Like in practical terms, what are we talking about?
So think of it this way. Forget about like physical borders and national identities and all of that.
Okay.
The Stoics are saying we're all interconnected within a single system.
Right.
And that system operates according to natural laws that apply to everyone and everything.
So instead of focusing on what divides us, it's about recognizing those like underlying principles that unite us all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Stoics didn't just pull these principles out of thin air.
Right.
They believed that the entire cosmos was like shaped by reason, a kind of divine intelligence that permeates everything.
Hold on, are we getting into like religious territory here?
Well, not exactly.
Huh?
While the Stoics did acknowledge a divine force, they saw it as like inseparable from the natural world itself. It's
Right.
like they believed rationality wasn't just a human trait. It was woven into the fabric of existence.
I'm starting to get the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
So how did this whole cosmic city idea come about?
Yeah.
Like, was it a sudden revelation or did it kind of evolve over time?
Well, it goes all the way back to the early Stoics. Guys like Zeno, Cleanthes and Chrysippus,
Okay.
they laid the foundation for this mind-blowing concept.
Wow.
And what's really interesting is, unlike some of the later Stoics, they weren't fixated on establishing some perfect political system.
Okay.
Their focus was on how individuals could understand and live in harmony with this universal order.
So it's more about aligning ourselves with the cosmos, not trying to like bend it to our will.
You got it.
Okay.
And for the Stoics, that alignment came through knowledge, self-awareness, and the development of virtues.
So it's kind of like they're saying, hey, if you want to live a good life, you got to understand the rules of the game.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
This brings up another point that always fascinates me about the Stoics.
Yeah.
Their emphasis on interconnectedness.
Right.
How does that fit into this cosmic city picture?
Yeah, interconnectedness is absolutely central to Stoic thought.
Okay.
They had this fascinating concept of a hierarchy of beings with everything from rocks and plants to humans and divine beings ranked according to their capacity for understanding.
Okay, wait a minute. Doesn't that sound a bit hierarchical and even a bit elitist?
Elitist.
Like humans are the top looking down on everything else.
Yeah, it's not about superiority in a judgmental sense.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that humans have a unique role to play in this cosmic city because of our ability to reason.
Okay.
They believe we have a responsibility to use our reason to understand and live in accordance with those universal laws we discussed.
So it's not about dominance. It's about stewardship.
Stewardship.
Using our unique abilities to live in harmony with everything else.
Precisely.
I see.
It's a call to responsibility, not a license to exploit.
Gotcha.
Now, here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The Stoics weren't just philosophers.
Right.
They were also keen observers of the natural world. They developed their own physics to explain how this cosmos actually works.
Oh, I love a good scientific twist.
Right.
Tell me more about their take on the physical world.
So they believed that the cosmos was governed by two fundamental principles, the active and the passive.
Okay.
Think of the active principle as that divine reason we talked about.
Wow.
The force that shapes and organizes the universe.
Like a cosmic sculptor shaping the universe with reason.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the passive principle?
So think of that as the raw material, the clay, if you will.
Okay.
It's like the canvas upon which the active principle operates.
So everything we see and experience, from the stars above to the ground beneath our feet, is a blend of these two forces.
Exactly.
Oh.
And that brings us right back to interconnectedness. We're all made of the same fundamental stuff, shaped by the same divine reason.
Ah.
We're literally and cosmically connected.
Wow.
Which has some pretty profound implications for how we treat each other and the world around us.
Wow, that's a powerful image to hold in mind.
Yeah.
If we really grasped this concept of a shared cosmic city,
Yeah.
it would radically shift our ethical framework, wouldn't it?
You're spot on, and ethics were a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy.
Right.
They weren't just about theoretical musings, they were about living a life in alignment with this cosmic order.
So I'm curious, how did they connect ethics to this grand cosmic worldview?
Yeah.
What did it actually mean to live ethically within this cosmic city?
For the Stoics, ethical living wasn't about adhering to a rigid set of rules.
So,
It was about aligning yourself with that rational order of the universe.
okay.
And the key to this alignment, they believed, was knowledge.
So it's not enough to just be a good person. You have to understand the why behind it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Knowledge for them was the path to virtue.
Hmm.
They believe that the more we understand about the world and our place in it, the better equipped we are to make ethical choices.
So using reason to grasp the bigger picture
Yeah,
and then acting accordingly.
exactly.
Okay, knowledge is key, but did they think this knowledge came solely from studying philosophy in some ivory tower?
Well, while philosophy was important, they didn't believe it was all about abstract thought.
Okay.
They were big proponents of engaging with the world through observation and experience.
Hmm.
Remember, these were also scientists and logicians.
Right.
They wanted to understand the universe and all its complexity, not just through philosophical ideas.
So well-rounded education, basically.
Exactly.
Then-
For the Stoics, knowledge wasn't just an academic pursuit. It was a way of life.
Hmm.
It was about constantly refining your understanding of the world and your place within it,
Right.
so you could live in greater harmony with that universal reason.
And did they have any specific tools or methods for gaining this kind of knowledge?
Logic played a huge role in their thinking.
Okay.
They saw it as a way to sharpen your mind, identify faulty reasoning, and arrive at sound judgments.
Hmm.
It wasn't just an abstract concept for them, it was a practical tool for navigating life's challenges and making ethical decisions.
So logic wasn't just for philosophers debating in some ancient lecture hall?
Not at all.
Okay.
It was a tool for everyday living, for anyone who wanted to live a more virtuous and fulfilling life.
Mhm.
They believed that by understanding the principles of logic, we could make better choices, avoid common pitfalls, and ultimately live in greater harmony with ourselves and the world around us.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It challenges the stereotype of Stoicism as being all about cold, hard logic.
Right. There's a whole other layer to it, a creative side that often gets overlooked.
You're talking about their appreciation for art and imagination?
Yes.
That always intrigued me.
Yeah. The Stoics weren't just about logic and reason.
Right.
They also recognized the power of imagination and art to shape our understanding of the world and influence our ethical choices.
Really tell me more about that, because that seems kind of counterintuitive to their focus on logic and reason.
It might seem that way, but they saw imagination as a tool for empathy, for
Yes.
understanding different perspectives.
So less about escapism
Right.
and more about like stepping into someone else's shoes?
Exactly.
Okay.
When you engage with a work of art,
Yeah.
whether it's a painting, a poem, or even a piece of music, you're invited to see the world through someone else's eyes.
I can see how that could broaden your perspective and make you more understanding and compassionate.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The Stoics saw it as a kind of ethical training ground.
Like a virtual reality simulator for moral development.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a way to safely explore different scenarios, consider the consequences of choices, and ultimately refine your own moral compass.
So in a way, engaging with art can be a form of practicing virtue.
Yeah.
It's not just about aesthetics, it's about becoming a better person.
Exactly. It was all about aligning yourself with that universal reason we talked about.
Right.
It was another way to cultivate virtue and live a more fulfilling life within that grand cosmic city.
It makes you wonder how differently we might view art if we saw it as a tool for ethical growth.
It really does.
It adds a whole new dimension to the experience.
Yeah.
Okay, before we move on, I want to circle back to this concept of the cosmic city.
Sure. What specifically comes to mind?
Well, it's such a powerful and thought-provoking idea.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the Stoics applied this concept to our relationship with nature. Did they see the natural world as part of this cosmic city, or was it something separate?
That's a great question. And it leads us to one of the most fascinating aspects of Stoic cosmopolitanism, their view of the environment.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating how the Stoics viewed nature. They didn't necessarily see themselves as separate from it, advocating for preservation in the way we think about environmentalism today.
Hmm.
Instead, they viewed the natural world as an integral part of this larger, divinely ordered cosmos,
Okay.
and saw humanity as holding a unique position within it.
So are we back to that hierarchy of beings again?
Well,
With humans at the top using their reason to make decisions about the natural world?
it's a bit more nuanced than that.
Okay.
They believed that humans had a responsibility to engage with nature respectfully, to understand and work within natural laws.
Okay.
But they also acknowledged that humans have a unique capacity to understand and potentially shape our world.
So it wasn't about dominating nature or exploiting it for our own gain, but more about recognizing our place within a larger system and acting accordingly.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's a perspective that has surprisingly relevant implications as we face modern-day environmental challenges.
Right.
You know, we're grappling with issues like climate change and pollution.
Yeah.
And it's clear that our current way of interacting with nature isn't sustainable.
That's a great point. But how can a philosophy from thousands of years ago actually help us tackle such complex modern issues? It's not like the Stoics had to deal with things like plastic pollution or deforestation on a global scale.
True, but the core principles they laid out are surprisingly timeless.
Okay.
Their emphasis on interconnectedness,
Yeah.
on understanding the consequences of our actions,
Yeah.
on recognizing that we're all part of a larger system governed by natural laws.
Right.
These are all ideas that can inform our approach to environmental issues today.
So it's not about finding specific solutions in their writings, but more about adopting their mindset, their way of viewing our relationship with the natural world.
Exactly. If we can cultivate that Stoic perspective, that sense of responsibility for the well-being of the entire cosmic city,
Yeah.
we're more likely to make choices that benefit not just ourselves, but the environment as well.
It's like shifting from a mindset of extraction and consumption to one of stewardship and harmony,
Right.
recognizing that our actions have consequences for the entire web of life.
That's a great way to put it. And that's what makes Stoic cosmopolitanism so valuable even in the 21st century.
Yeah.
It offers us a framework for thinking about our place in the world, our relationships with each other, and our responsibilities toward the environment.
It's like having a conversation across the millennia, gleaning insights from these brilliant minds who grappled with some of the same fundamental questions we face today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so enriching about studying ancient philosophies.
Yeah.
They offer different perspectives on these enduring human challenges and often surprise us with their relevance to our modern lives.
It's amazing.
You know, it makes me wonder, how would the Stoics view some of the pressing social issues of our time?
Oh, like what?
Like social justice and equality. These topics are so central to contemporary discourse.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how their framework might apply.
That's a really interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
It's true that the Stoics lived in a very different social context,
Right.
but their emphasis on universal reason and the inherent worth of all individuals seems to suggest a foundation for a more just and equitable society.
Absolutely. While they didn't explicitly address those issues in the way we do today,
Right.
their core values have strong implications for how we think about social justice and equality.
Yeah.
The idea that all individuals, regardless of their social standing or background, share a common humanity and deserve respect and dignity.
Yeah.
That's a powerful concept that resonates strongly with modern notions of equality.
It's fascinating how these ancient ideas can still spark such relevant and important conversations. It seems like we can always learn something from the Stoics, even though their world was vastly different from ours.
I completely agree. Their insights about the cosmos, our place within it, and the importance of living ethically are as relevant today as they were centuries ago.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of philosophy. It transcends time and place, offering enduring wisdom that we can apply to our own lives.
It's like tapping into a wellspring of timeless wisdom, drawing inspiration from those who came before us.
Exactly. And that's what's so inspiring about Stoic cosmopolitanism.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we're part of something much larger than ourselves.
Right.
We have a responsibility to live in harmony with that larger system,
Yeah.
and that we have the capacity to use our reason to create a better world.
It's a powerful and hopeful message in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain.
Yeah.
But all this talk about the cosmic city and interconnectedness is great in theory.
Right.
But how do we actually apply these principles in our daily lives? How can we become better citizens of this cosmic city, not just in our heads, but in our actions? Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? How do we take these like big philosophical ideas and turn them into something tangible, something we can actually put into practice in our everyday lives?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it can feel a bit overwhelming.
It's true that bridging the gap between theory and practice can be challenging,
Right.
but I think the Stoics offer some practical tools and techniques that can help us along the way.
Like, give me an example. What's a good starting point?
Well, I think cultivating that Stoic mindset of awareness is key.
Right.
It's about paying attention to our thoughts and emotions, noticing how they influence our actions. It's like hitting the pause button before reacting,
Hmm.
giving ourselves a moment to consider the bigger picture.
So instead of just reacting on autopilot, we take a breath and we ask ourselves, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
What are my motivations? Are my actions aligned with my values? And this idea of being a good citizen of the cosmic city.
Exactly.
So,
That moment of reflection can make all the difference.
Yeah.
it allows us to step back from those knee-jerk reactions and make more conscious choices.
It sounds a lot like mindfulness,
Uh-huh.
being present in each moment and making intentional choices rather than just going through the motions.
It is very much about mindfulness.
Okay.
The Stoics understood that our minds are powerful tools,
Right.
but they can also be our biggest obstacles if we're not paying attention.
So it's not about becoming some kind of superhuman or making grand gestures.
Right.
It's about those everyday choices, those small acts of kindness,
Yeah.
those moments where we choose to act in alignment with that sense of interconnectedness.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that even seemingly insignificant actions can have ripple effects throughout the cosmic city.
Okay, that makes it feel a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to single-handedly save the world. It's about taking responsibility for our own little corner of the cosmos.
Mm.
What are some concrete examples of how we can put this into practice?
Well, it could be something as simple as choosing to walk or bike instead of driving to reduce our carbon footprint.
Okay.
Or it could be about volunteering our time to help those in need, recognizing the shared humanity that connects us all.
Right. So it's those everyday choices, those seemingly small acts that when multiplied across millions of people can actually have a significant impact.
Exactly. It's not about waiting for some external force to change the world. It's about recognizing that we each have the power to make a difference, starting right now.
That's a really empowering thought.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that famous Margaret Mead quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has."
That's a perfect example of the Stoic spirit in action. And it's what makes this philosophy so relevant and inspiring today. It's not just a set of abstract ideas, it's a call to action.
A call to become active and engaged citizens of the cosmic city. This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of Stoicism and its relevance to the challenges we face today. Is there a single takeaway you'd like our listeners to walk away with? If I had to choose just one, it would be this. Remember that you are a citizen of the cosmic city. Your actions, no matter how small, have an impact on the whole. Choose to act with wisdom, with kindness, and with a deep awareness of our interconnectedness.
Beautifully said. And for those who are eager to explore these ideas further, we'll be sure to include links to Cachemaria Vote's work and other resources on Stoic cosmopolitanism in the show notes.
Great.
It's a fascinating and rewarding area of study, and I encourage everyone to dive in and discover its wisdom for themselves.
I agree.
On that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. If the world truly is a shared cosmic city, what kind of citizen will you choose to be?
Think about it, reflect on it, and let your actions be guided by that awareness.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Stoic cosmopolitanism. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving to be the best citizens of this cosmic city we call home.